Absolutely. I think a lot of times things like headlines and bylines are always misused and like overused. When they're trying to be clever and cute and like punny, it turns out to be really offensive. And people definitely need to be more careful because you never know who you're going to offend out there in the media. The whole Jeremy Lin thing where they referred to him as a Chinese racial slur, sort of like referring to his performance. It's hard to admit that you think them, but it's always so out there that it's like, how could you avoid it, you know? I don't know if there is a right punishment for something like that because a lot of times it is just a mistake or they really didn't mean to offend anyone, but at the same time they did. So in society, unfortunately, it is normal to hear things like that. I don't think they're right, but it's so out there all the time that it's hard to ignore and it's so easy to read and like you kind of laugh about it. And then later on you're like, wow, that wasn't right at all. I don't think that racism will ever stop when it comes to sports and generalizing when it comes to like who's good at a sport and like why someone's on a certain team or like why they got picked. And it's sort of like an inevitable truth that we'll always have to live with because it just is society.
I think that journalists, they overstep their boundaries in the sense that they'll take these derogatory names and stuff like that and they'll expect everyone to get the humor, and they think that racism still isn't a problem, but a lot of people use racism because they think in this day and age that racism is over, that everyone's okay with it and stuff like that. But racism is all on how it's portrayed. Like being around your friends and stuff, you can say things that you necessarily won't say in public. And journalists take everything and they try to hype up the story. They take anything that may be considered racism and blow it out of proportion and make people realize that that may be a racist comment, even though in the context of someone saying it, it wasn't racism. It was either humor or it was just something in the day-to-day vocabulary that somebody has.